Three candidates, one goal.
I can represent the small businesses better than anybody else who's in council right now.
To be the next mayor of Columbia.
I don't have a problem with rolling up my sleeves and getting in and working with people to get things done.
Real issues, real questions from viewers like you.
The only person in this race who has that experience.
Live from Chappelle Auditorium at Allen University, it's the 2021 Mayoral Forum. Good evening and welcome to our Columbia Mayor Candidate Forum from Chappelle Auditorium on the campus of Allen University. This building was declared a National Historic Landmark in 1976. The university was founded by the AME Church in 1870. And tonight, WLTX has partnered with the Columbia Urban League Young Professionals and Allen University to bring you this live event. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for News 19 at 7. I'm Darcy Strickland. Tonight, we are talking to the three individuals who are running for the office of mayor in the city of Columbia. Joining us live tonight, Mo Bedora, former Columbia City Councilman who immigrated to the U.S. in 1980 to pursue the American dream. Tamika Isaac Devine, who currently holds the at-large seat on City Council. Isaac Devine is an attorney and Columbia native passionate about the capital city. And Columbia native Sam Johnson, a former campaign aide to current Mayor Steve Benjamin. Johnson believes he brings fresh ideas to tackle the city's biggest issues. A fourth individual who you will see on the ballot, Daniel Rickerman, was unable to join the forum tonight, he says, due to a scheduling conflict. Tonight, the candidates will answer questions from you, our viewers, about why they believe they are the best person to move the capital city forward. And this is your opportunity to make sure you participate in the forum tonight. You can text us your questions at 803-776-9508 and let us know what questions you have for these three candidates who are very eager to answer them. And don't forget to include your name. At this time, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make an introductory statement to our audience here at Allen University and on all of our WLTX platforms. We're going to begin in alphabetical order today, beginning with Mo Bedora.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for having us. On January 16, 2019, Derek Caldwell Roper, age 31, Calvin Weatherspoon, age 62, found dead in their own bed while they were sleeping at the Ellen Bettig apartment, a public housing complex. Later, it was determined that the cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning due to the negligence of lack of repairs. Soon after, I was the only councilman that asked for accountability and demanded justice and asked for the director to resign. Later, it was determined no criminal charges will be issued and no one is responsible for the death of two poor citizens. Many will say that this incident was swept under the carpet. That's why, as mayor, I will fight to stop corruption and demand justice for all citizens. I will also establish community policing and bring back police substations in our neighborhood to encourage and strengthen the relationship between our police officers and our community. I will also invest in the water and sewer department and stop the transfer for water and sewer. After I left the office in 2019, this council has also continued to transfer funds from water and sewer, which could affect the quality of life and the quality of the water that you are receiving every day. We will expand our water and sewer lines to attract more subdivisions built so we can attract more young people for first-time home buyers. I will eliminate small business license fee. Any business with less than three employees or less and $500,000 in revenue will no longer be paying a business license fee. And lastly, I will encourage and motivate other companies to come and hire all the young talent that we have here in Columbia to stay and raise their families with us in our great city. At the same time, get a great paying jobs for everything that we do. Thank you so much for your time.
Next, Tamika Isaac Devine will deliver an opening statement.
Thank you, Ms. Strickland, and to Dr. McNeely, the president of this great organization, and Mr. Taylor, and all of you who are watching. I'm Tamika Isaac Devine, your current at-large member of Columbia City Council and candidate for mayor of the city of Columbia. Columbia is home for me. This is the city that raised me. It is the city where I started my career as a practicing attorney many years ago. It is the city where I met and married my husband, who is a Benedict College grad, and the city where we have intentionally decided to raise our 3 children. It's the city that has taught me about community and has taught me about service. And I've been honored to humbly serve this city for the last 19 years. Together, we have done so much, from facing our quickest challenges like the 2008-2009 recession, the Great Flood of 2015, and even now as we continue to navigate through COVID-19 to make sure that we are not only addressing the immediate health challenges, but we're taking advantage of opportunities as we come out of this and addressing the disparities that this pandemic has unearthed. We've also expanded programs for our youth. We've worked to expand financial empowerment. We've made strong strategic investments in our community while making sure that we have investment in our parks and our infrastructure. We've done a lot together, but there's still so much left to be done. And that's why I'm running for mayor. I'm running for mayor of the city of Columbia to be an independent voice, someone who champions all communities, no matter where you live, and promoting inclusive and equitable growth throughout the city. So no matter where you live, whether you live in Shandon or North Columbia, or you live in Rosewood, Wood Creek Farms, or Harbison, that you know you have a champion in the mayor's office, someone who will wake up every single day, rolling up her sleeves and going to work with you and for you, making sure that we are promoting inclusive growth, that we're expanding and working for working families, making sure that people can not only pay their bills, but they can be strong and survive, making sure that we're investing in our infrastructure and growing this amazing city. So I look forward to this panel, and thank you for being here.
Now our next candidate, Sam Johnson, in his opening statement.
First, I'd like to start by thanking the Columbia Urban League Young Professionals for putting this together, the folks who worked really hard to organize this conversation this evening. Also, I want to thank our president here of this fine institution. It's amazing and a great opportunity to be back on Allen University's campus. And of course, Darcy and WLTX for this forum this evening. I wanted to open up tonight by talking about how my name is Sam Johnson, and I was born and raised here in Columbia, how I'm the son of a truck driver and an Alzheimer's nurse. And I wanted to give you guys my bio. But I'll tell you, I had an opportunity to sit down with the city's fire department yesterday, with our firefighters. And we have a crisis on our hands right now. We have 60 vacancies in our fire department. 60 vacancies, 60 firefighters that are missing. We have 10 fire trucks right now that just yesterday were running short of the personnel that they need to serve you, to keep you safe. We have one fire truck operating yesterday where most of their equipment is broken. Life-saving equipment that they don't have to keep you safe. Matter of fact, as a capital city, we are right now borrowing equipment to make sure that we have the life-saving equipment necessary from a vendor. On top of that, our firefighters start pay at just $10.50 an hour. These are our heroes, y'all. We've got to do better. And on top of that, we have a gun violence crisis. In Gable Oaks, just last week, we had 3 consecutive nights of shootings. We have to address that. But I'll tell you, in addition to the 60 vacancies that we have in the fire department, we have over 90 vacancies in our police department. We have to have leadership, vision, and action if we're going to be able to address this and move the needle forward. And so that's why I'm running for mayor. I want to provide that action. I want to make sure that we address these challenges head on.
Thank you so much, Sam. All right, we're going to have some housekeeping rules, if you all will bear with me for just a moment, just to explain to you how this evening is going to go. Each candidate will respond to the same question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer that question. There is no rebuttal time. This is not a debate. This is a forum. It's an opportunity for you, the voters, to hear from the candidates. We're going to rotate who is asked the first question, and we will go in alphabetical order, starting with Mr. Badora. You've probably noticed the lights right here in front of you. The green is your go, the yellow means you have 15 seconds, and the red means we're asking you to stop. Your time is up. So we'll begin with our first question. Perhaps the most important topic for discussion tonight is how the city and its leaders, namely the mayor, will navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. The Delta variant of COVID-19 has impacted every aspect of every life. People have lost loved ones, students and schools have been changed forever, families have lost homes and jobs. And just today, DHEC has confirmed more than 4,200 new cases of the coronavirus across the state. So the first question for our candidates this evening is, in the midst of the COVID surge, voters in the capital city want to know, what is your plan? We'll begin with Mr. Bedore.
So COVID is an important topic to discuss, and vaccination is even more important. As mayor, I will be in every corner, every street in the city promoting vaccination. Number two, wear mask anywhere you go. It is important that we protect ourselves and protect others from getting contaminated or get the virus, because it's a way to make sure that our city is safe and our citizens are safe. The third thing is motivate citizens to go and get vaccine shots by giving them money for their vaccine card. So, and I think the city has passed a resolution last week or so to do the same thing for their employees, and I think we could do the same thing for citizens in Columbia, that if they get vaccinated, they get compensated for it, anywhere from $300 to $500. Thank you.
Ms. Devine?
Thank you so much. You know, COVID-19 has unearthed a lot of disparities within our city. We have to face the immediate health challenges while also taking advantage of the opportunities that COVID-19 has. As a council person, I have been, from the day one, meeting with our partners in Richland County and DHEC, nonprofits and churches to make sure that we are educating our community about COVID-19. Not just about what COVID-19 is, but how do you protect yourself. As a council member, I voted for the very first stay-at-home order and then for masks. I've consistently voted following the guidance by the CDC and DHEC to make sure that we are protecting ourselves. And then once the vaccine was available, I've continued to go throughout the city and make sure that not only people understood about the vaccine, but we had town halls to make sure that people were educated about it. As mayor, I will continue to lead on this and not only make sure we're promoting the vaccines, but making sure that our citizens are informed and that we continue to address health disparities within our community.
Mr. Johnson?
I'll tell you, this is personal for me. I've lost my aunt, my mom's sister, I lost my grandmother and my grandfather to COVID-19. I'll tell you, we have a zip code in this city right now that leads for so many different health disparities. But I'll also tell you that it leads in this state for COVID infections. So we've got to make sure that as we deal with this pandemic, that we are utilizing new, fresh ideas. The very first day, or excuse me, the third day of our campaign, we put out an idea called the Chief Health Officer, recognizing that not only do we have the health disparities here that affect diabetes, hypertension, and so many other negative health impacts, we also have this pandemic right here on our hands. And so the first thing I would do is hire a chief health officer so we have somebody who has the data. We don't need somebody, we've had elected officials who have tried to say that, hey, we're going to be a champion or we're going to tell you what the science says. We need somebody who is based in science, who has that type of background to make sure that they are leading our efforts with data.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Our next question, Tamika Isaac Devine will answer first. This question is from a WLTX viewer. Her name is Mimi. She wants to know, will you follow CDC guidelines in the fight against COVID-19 to help keep the city and schools safe? After Ms. Devine, we will hear from Mr. Johnson and then Mr. Bedore.
Well, thank you, Mimi, for that question, and that is so very important. We need to make sure that we have elected officials who not only understand that we have to be led by the data and the science, but that you follow that and you don't politicize this COVID-19 pandemic or any other health disparity for political expediency, but that we're following the guidance, and not only that, but we're educating our citizens. So yes, I would follow the CDC guidance, the DHEC guidance, but in addition to that, as the mayor, I will make sure that we're having uniform meetings, regular meetings with our partners to make sure that we're encouraging the following of the guidance and also educating and answering questions. There's so many misinformation, disinformation out there about COVID-19. And so as leaders, it's very important that we hit that head on and that we address people and meet people where they are and make sure we're providing them with the right information and data.
So absolutely. There's so much misinformation. There's so many folks who have so many questions, and they ask the question, hey, how do I find out? Is there somebody at the City of Columbia that can answer this question? I've been contacted by a neighborhood president who said, hey, I want to lead an effort. I want to lead a vaccination effort. Is there somebody at the City of Columbia who can make sure that I know which zip codes, which communities that I have to impact if we're going to stop the spread of this virus here in Columbia? And so not only do we have to make sure that there is somebody that you can pick up the phone and call, we have to have the type of leadership that when our governor, when different leaders across our state are unwilling to show the type of leadership that is necessary to save lives, that we have a mayor who's willing to do an emergency declaration to make sure that our children are able to go to school with masks. That means you have to have a leader who's going to be willing to be the tip of the spear, who's going to be willing to put in bold action. And that's the type of leader that we need here in Columbia.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Bedora.
As mayor, leadership is very important here. It is important not to play politics with people's feelings and when they're sick or there's a pandemic in the area and in our city. It is important to reach out to our school officials, council, superintendent, principals, teachers, and educate them the proper way on how to go about vaccine and how to administer vaccine and how you can make the vaccine available. It's important that we communicate that information with our parents, with the parents and the students itself, and of course, the public, the teachers and the principals and the public official that oversees our school system. It is far important for us to deliver the right information rather than playing politics and worry about what you can do as a public official. This is beyond politics. This is serious business and we need to address it fast.
Thank you. Now let's discuss healthcare just a little bit more broadly. Access to quality and meaningful healthcare, especially in South Carolina, is becoming an increasingly severe challenge for so many people. We'll begin with Mr. Johnson with this question from a viewer. As the leader of the capital city, what plans do you have for people living in the city to ensure every individual has the opportunity to get both affordable and purposeful health care from providers, I should say, in rural and urban areas? Sure.
So, as I mentioned, the third day of our campaign, we came out with the idea of a chief health officer. And I will tell you, it wasn't a popular idea amongst my competitors. And I will tell you that the conversation that I've heard is, well, we're in the capital city. We have all these nonprofit organizations. We have hospital systems here. But yet, while we have those resources here available to us, we continue to see zip codes and actual sections of our community, of our city, unfortunately, that disproportionately impacted and affected. Because not only has this happened like the last few years, this has been the case for 20 and 30 years, where we are seeing one side of Columbia have a life expectancy 10 years shorter than the other side. We've got to make sure that we bring fresh new ideas to the table that are going to allow us to move the needle here in Columbia. And so that chief health officer will allow us to make sure that we are eradicating some of these challenges that our leaders up until this point have not been able to get done.
Thank you. Mr. Bedora?
So it's important to reach out to the nonprofit, local churches and other communities to support each other when it comes to that. It is important that we reach out and make the vaccine or any medical attention necessary for underprivileged available everywhere in the city. As mayor, as a leader of the city, I think I will take that initiative to every neighborhood and every church and every corner of every corner of the street to make sure that we spread the right gospel and communicate the right language and the right communication with the people. Thank you.
Ms. Isaac Devine?
Thank you. A lot of people will tell you what they will do, but you look at what people have done. Since I've been on City Council, I've been a champion and a leader when it comes to health care. I have founded the Citywide Wellness Challenge, actually worked together with Prison Health to address health disparities in 29203. And one of the things our survey showed us is that the reason that you have so many health disparities and access to healthcare issues is because of systemic racism and not addressing these issues head on. And so when we look at health disparities, whether it be lack of sidewalks so people can't walk, if it is access to fresh fruits and vegetables, those are things that a leader, the city has to lead on. As mayor, I will have the ability to really lead a lot of these issues more than I've done so far. I've done a great job as a council member, but as mayor, I'll be able to not only bring resources, but also address the fact that we have to work together with our partners and not create new bureaucratic positions that will be that will not actually get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from a viewer named Virginia. She says, after moving here a year ago and becoming a registered voter, I couldn't believe the difficulty I experienced finding a primary care physician. The question from Virginia reads, what does each candidate plan to do to improve the healthcare system and get primary care physicians to come to Columbia and stay? We'll begin with Mr. Bador.
Oh, well, great question. It is important that we recruit the best to our city and our healthcare providers. I think it's important that as mayor or leader of the city to be on commercial and try to promote such individuals, and maybe some bonuses to offer them to bring them here. We've talked about tax incentives in the past. We've offered this a little bit, I think, for our police officers and firemen in our city government, that they can get a lower interest rate to buy their home within the city limits. And I think we can probably offer the same, extend the same offer to other individuals, just like healthcare workers. Thank you.
Ms. Isaac Devine.
Thank you. And thank you for that question, Virginia. I'll tell you that I've gone to the same primary care physician since I became an adult. Several years ago, he retired, and his practice was bought by Providence. You know, Providence has continued to go down in our community, and then Prisma Health was bought out by Greenville, and the monopoly of Prisma has expanded. As mayor, I think it's very important that we make sure that we have competition, but more importantly, Virginia's question asked about how do we recruit physicians so that they come and stay. For the city, it's a part for us to work with now MUSC, who has now had Providence, and Prisma Health and Lexington, and make sure that we have quality healthcare facilities so that they are being paid. But we also need to make sure we have a good quality of life so that when they come here, they know that they have a great city to live in, and that means low cost of living as well as great amenities. And as mayor, that is part of the mayor's job to champion, and I will continue to do that.
Mr. Johnson.
Sure. We can't say that we've done the work, but at the same time still have the same challenges that continue to exist here in Columbia. We've got to make sure, guys, that we're electing leaders who are actually moving the needle. We can't have healthcare where we have folks who are 20 and 30 years, 40 years, not seeing the fruits of that labor. So we've got to make sure that we are doing work that actually moves the needle here in Columbia. And so when we talk about how do we make sure that we have physicians, that we have access to healthcare, we've got to have an economy here that allows for them to have the culture here that allows for them to come and see the climate that allows for them to see a Columbia that's growing and thriving. You know, we talk about MUSC coming to Columbia. That would not have happened if we didn't have a Bull Street that allowed for a campus to create a campus that MUSC could come to. So we've got to have a leader that provides the economic development infrastructure for the fruit of that labor to come to Columbia.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We're going to transition now and talk about infrastructure around the capital city. We received a lot of questions from viewers about grocery stores noticeably absent in some areas of the city. How would you work to encourage other grocery stores to expand in the city? And what are you doing to reverse this process of companies moving out of the city? We'll begin with Mrs. Isaac Devine.
Thank you so much for that question. It is very important that we address not just food deserts, but make sure we have diversity of food options. I mentioned before in the previous question is that when you look at the reason that we have health disparities on a lot of issues, these aren't issues that are 20, 30-year issues. These are issues that are 50 and 60-year issues. And you need someone who is going to be willing to confront those issues head on and address issues that people don't want to talk about, and that is systemic racism and disinvestment in communities of color. Yes, it's great to have Bull Street and spend millions of dollars for that, but we need to have the mayor that will have the same dedication and passion to invest in North Columbia, in Two Notch Road, and communities of color that aren't going to bring all these big, big businesses that don't hire people from communities of color that are affected by these health disparities. And so as mayor, not only will I champion investment, strategic investment in communities of color, but I'll also make sure that we have communities we have minority business owners who will have a piece of that pie, and they can establish grocery stores in the communities where they live.
Mr. Johnson.
Absolutely. We have to have a mayor who has a track record of bringing economic development to Columbia and knows how to utilize the right tools to provide those opportunities. So when we look at grocery stores, and we look at the opportunities to bring grocery stores into our neighborhoods, we have to have the economic tools, the incentives that allow for us to be able to attract them. We have to be able to use tools like economic overlay districts, something that will allow us to be able to attract the right type of development, create the right type of climate, and have grocery stores up and down North Main and Farrell Road so that we deal with some of these food deserts head on. We got to have a mayor who makes sure that when we look at some of the inequity that we have here, that we can have the type of economic growth that creates a climate where we have the density that we need to make sure that we support those grocery stores. And so as mayor, we need to make sure that we are focusing on making sure that we have all the tools necessary to see the type of growth that we have to have here in Columbia so that our children are able to live up to their potential and we have the resources for our grandmothers as well.
Mr. Bedora.
Thank you for that question. This is a problem. It's been occurring a lot more lately, and it's important that we can address it in the future, not now, but also in the future. In the past, I didn't vote for it, but the Bull Street, which the city of Columbia spent over $100 million on Bull Street. A lot of the council members voted for giving half the taxes off for student housing to be built everywhere in the city. But nobody ever talked about getting tax incentives for grocery stores to come into the neighborhoods where they really need it. Me, as mayor, I will make sure I will go and bring those grocery stores in our neighborhoods. As a businessman, I have acquired a lot of communication, a lot of relationship with other businesses that I know how to talk to them and I know how to incentivize them for them to come and build a grocery store and open one in our neighborhoods as we need it. Public community policing always helps into bringing the grocery stores in our neighborhood as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bedora. Another topic with a lot of interest from our viewers focused on the needs of individuals without homes. Mr. Johnson, you'll be the first to answer this question, followed by Mr. Bedora and Mrs. Isaac Devine. As mayor, exactly what would you do to address the long-term needs of the homeless?
Sure. Columbia is home for me. It's a place that I'm so proud to be from. We have such humanity in the city. But I'll tell you guys, I live in Elmwood Park. And as I stand or park at the corner of Elmwood and Park Street, I see folks who are old enough, my mother, my grandmother, walking with book bags with all their lively possessions in 95-degree heat or in 34 degrees cold and rain. We've got to have a better system here in Columbia. We have to have a conversation where we look at how we deliver services to those in need right now. We have folks here who try to go to Transitions or Oliver Gospel, sandwiched between our commercial business districts and our downtown neighborhoods. Folks who walk all the way around this city looking for services. We have to have a campus where we provide the services that folks need and then also provide the transitional housing that people need all in one location so that we provide the services, the care, and address those challenges head on through something that is systematic, that doesn't leave people searching.
Mr. Bedora.
So there's two parts of the answers to this question. So number one, of course, we need to establish a shelter, a year-round shelter that house the homeless temporarily until permanent solution is fixed for them. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of nonprofits around the city that can feed and house and try to help the homeless as much as they can, but 6 o'clock is cutoff time. So what do you do for the homeless society from 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night until the next day? That's why you need a shelter. If you have a homeless sitting outside after they miss the deadline, it is important to get them to the shelter where the shelter can take them the following day to the necessary services that they need. Anywhere in the city, we have a lot of offices in here that can help the homeless society, and it's important that we have a shelter that can motivate or try to help those people as much as possible, especially after hours. The other one is have a facility that you can house 25 to 30 people at a time, try to give them the help and the tools and the training for a new job so they can go out there after a period of 2 or 3 months to go out there and get their own job and have their own place to live forever.